Hey, it's me, Vicki Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, I just want to give you an update on the inquest for Victoria Taylor, known as Vixx to her friends and family. We followed this case when Victoria was last seen. Wasn't she going to the local petrol station buying some items? And she was seen on CCTV heading towards the river local to where she lived. And then for 3 weeks, over 3 weeks, nobody knew anything more about what had happened to her. And searches were conducted. This all happened in Malton, in North Yorkshire, in the UK, on the 30th of September last year. And Victoria, who's a mum of one and apparently a devoted mother partner, um, I've, Victoria's Facebook page is still up, and the photos on there are absolutely beautiful of the little girl, her and her partner. She looks so happy. You know, her Facebook page going back to when she was pregnant, all that hope. And, you know, it's so terribly, terribly sad that Victoria ended up being found deceased, sadly deceased, in the river. And the reason that I'm talking about Vixx or Victoria today is because the inquest has just happened into her death. And it turns out, you know, it's just a terrible. Uh, she was just let down. She had postpartum depression. She'd always suffered with mental health issues, as of course so many of us do. But I think when she had her baby, it looked like these photos, as I say, on Facebook, and we know we can't tell how people are feeling on social media. We've learnt that from other cases. She just looks so happy, and you can tell she absolutely adores her little girl. And my heart goes out as well to this little girl who has lost her mummy. It's such a shame. Anyway, so the inquest has happened, and it turns out, Victoria was really failed by all the sort of, we know that in the UK, probably as in many other countries, the mental health, what can I put, the support for mental health, it's just not there, is it? It's just not there. I mean, it's a difficult one. Mental health is very, very difficult to support someone with mental health problems. You know, a lot of people keep it to themselves, but actually Victoria didn't keep it to herself. You know, she was looking for help, but she was refused it. So it's terrible. It's terrible tragedy, and I hope something is learnt from it. So let's have a read of what the Guardian reports as a result of the inquest. So terribly sad, and for her partner too, for a little girl especially, but for her partner too. So the family of the nurse, and she was a nurse, her life was about helping other people. She was a very compassionate person. Seems like she was a beautiful person. It's always the beautiful people that we lose. We need more people um, like Victoria. We don't want to lose them from this world. She was making a difference in the world. She was creating positivity, but she just couldn't fight her own demons. It's very sad, isn't it? So the family of the nurse found dead in the river say she was failed by systemic neglect. The inquest questions why more help was not offered to Victoria Taylor, only 34 years old, the prime of her life, with a young child, a young daughter. The trouble is when people get depressed and get these suicidal ideations, they think they're worthless, don't they? And that their loved ones would be better off without them. Anyway, apparently her mental health deteriorated. Her sister said she was a devoted mother, a loving fiancée, and a fiercely loyal sister. So the family of a nurse whose body was found in a river after a 3-week search have said she was failed by systemic neglect and under-resourcing in mental health services. Victoria Taylor, 34, was described at an inquest as a devoted mother, a loving fiancée, and a fiercely loyal sister. She went missing from her home in Malton, North Yorkshire on the 30th of September last year. Now, my regular chatters, do you remember this? We covered it, didn't we, right from the beginning? There was a lot of speculation. Obviously, she disappeared for quite a long time. It was quite a long time before she was found. So there was all kind. Now, we didn't know about these problems. When I say we, I mean the public in general. Why should we know? I think her family dealt with it all very well, with the whole situation. As far as social media was concerned, they shut down any speculation, any disrespectful speculation, etc. And they dealt with it very well. Maybe they were advised on how to deal with it. The police dealt with the situation better. I think if one thing came out of the Nicola Bully case a couple of years ago, I think it's taught the police how to deal with these situations. Because it is hard for the family if they become the centre of a social media storm. But having said that, you do need the social media to, when someone's missing and they want to find their loved one, you sort of need it as well, because you need the tips, you need the sightings, you need the CCTV, dash cam footage, etc., any witnesses. So it's hard, isn't it, to strike a line between, you need some publicity to help find your loved one, but you don't want like the craziness that happened with the Nicola Bully case. She went missing from her home in Malton, North Yorkshire on the 30th of September last year, and her body was recovered from the River Derwent on the 22nd of October after an extensive search. And the inquest into her death in Northallerton heard that Victoria had struggled with alcohol and mental health problems related to a childhood trauma. And coroner Catherine Cundy said the trauma left an indelible mark on Victoria's life. I wish they wouldn't call her Taylor. What's wrong with using her first name? God, this drives me absolutely bonkers, this disrespect. Anyway, in the form of depression, anxiety, and chronic feelings of worthlessness. Bless her. Recording a narrative verdict, Cundy said she could not be sure of Victoria's intentions when she went into the river. Shouldn't be referring to the coroner as Cundy either. Her name's Catherine. Anyway, in a statement issued afterwards, Victoria's sister, Emma Warden, said she hoped the inquest would be a turning point. She said Vixx was a devoted mother, a loving fiancée, and a fiercely loyal sister. She showed up for those she loved with warmth, humour, and a deep sense of care. Her relationships were central to her identity, and she gave everything she had to protect and support the people around her. She also lived with challenges. These were not hidden. She reached out for help. She made herself visible to services, and yet time and time again she was failed and left without the support she needed. The failures in her care were not isolated incidents. They were part of a wider pattern of systemic neglect and under-resourcing in mental health services. Vixx deserved better. She deserved to be seen, heard, and supported. Instead, she was left to carry burdens alone. Her death is a tragedy, but it must also be a turning point. Let this inquest be a step towards accountability, learning, and change. So during the day-long inquest, calling this person Warden now, Emma. So this is Victoria's sister. She's called Emma. It just really irritates me, this. During the day-long inquest, Emma turned to representatives of Tees, Eskom, Wirwallis NHS Foundation Trust, saying they were going round in circles. She said nobody looked her in the eye and said, "We will help you." And she's not here now because you failed her. So the coroner said she would be writing to the TWV and a number of other agencies with her concerns over the support that Victoria was given. She said she found it difficult to understand why community mental health services repeatedly declined to offer Victoria support as her situation deteriorated during 2024. I mean, this is just terrible, isn't it? Actually declined to offer her support. It's beyond belief, isn't it? A young mum with so this little girl now has been left motherless. And I know it's Victoria's actions, but Victoria reached out for help and she was refused it. So Emma said she believed this was partly because Victoria was treated as an alcoholic when she was not dependent on alcohol, instead being someone who binged on wine when her emotions relating to her traumatic past overwhelmed her. So yeah, that's a difficult one, isn't it? Because yes, she obviously at times drank. I think she had been drinking the night before this happened. I think she stopped off at the petrol station probably to buy some alcohol. But the thing is, it's not, if somebody uses alcohol as a mask or a prop, for the problems that they're experiencing, but she still was going to work and holding down her job and looking after her child. So I suppose sometimes we use this expression functioning alcoholic. It brings in all these questions of what is an alcoholic. I've met many people in my long lifetime who are reliant on alcohol one way or another. I suppose, we all have our props, don't they? It could be smoking, it could be drugs, or it could be alcohol. But some people get totally lost in the alcohol, don't they, where they lose everything because of it. Some addictions affect people like that. And other people continue their daily life. It seems like everything's, okay, they can get up, they can go to work, they can function, etc. But they're relying on alcohol. So maybe that's the difference. Is alcohol reliant and an alcoholic? But anyway, her sister Emma says she believes this is because she was treated as an alcoholic, but she was not dependent on alcohol. Elspeth Devaney, the Group Director for Nursing and Quality at TWV, said, "Our thoughts and deepest condolences are with Victoria's family and friends during this incredibly difficult time. Following Victoria's tragic death, we completed a review and have made changes to improve our services. We will respond to the coroner's report and take action to continue to improve and provide high quality care to the people in our communities." And then, of course, it goes on to give information about the Samaritans, etc., helplines in the UK, the US, and Australia. Now it's a very difficult subject, of course. People don't like to talk about it when, and it's, as being a survivor of self-deletion, if you like, knowing someone very close who took their own life. And knowing many other people, who have done it as well, that maybe I wasn't so close to, but they were close to friends of mine, etc. Sometimes, I don't know if somebody it's almost like an obsession that grows in someone's head, isn't it? And sometimes I wonder if you can stop someone from doing it. But maybe if you can, sometimes you can stop someone in that moment, but will they go on to do it at a later time? It's such a difficult subject. And just to say is that the Samaritans are an organisation that do help, because people can phone the Samaritans to talk. But always be aware that the Samaritans are not there to prevent someone from taking their own life. That's not what they do. They are there to listen to someone, not judge them. And if the person decides to go on and take their own life, the Samaritans are not there to stop them. They won't do anything to stop them. That is not their, what's the word? That is not what they're there for. They're not there in that sense. They're there to listen to people, offer them. They're not supposed to actually judge them in any way or even offer suggestions. The whole point of the Samaritans helpline, and there are a lot of Samaritans branches, you can actually even go in and talk to people. You can email them, there'll be all sorts of ways you can contact them. But they are not there to talk people out of it. They are there to listen to people and hope that because of talking to them that they think about that, that they change their mind or whatever. But their ethos, if you like, is that people have their own right to choose whether they ultimately whether they take their life or not. So just be aware of that. I'm sure there are other organisations that maybe are a bit more proactive in actually stopping. So, at the end of the day, it's these services that have let Victoria down. They're the ones that are supposed to try and deal with it. She was openly having these thoughts. She had attempted it before. Not long before this happened, her own brother had to pull her out of that same river. It's very, very sad. This was not an isolated incident for Victoria. And this, of course, these were all things we didn't know at the time when we were following Victoria's case and hoping for a happy resolution as to where she was. And probably, her family knew a lot more. And unfortunately, it looks like Victoria succumbed, if you like, to her mental health issues. So, what were what were they doing about it? So anyway, just going over to this Teesside Live article, the North Yorkshire area coroner Catherine Cundy recorded a narrative verdict saying she could not be sure of Miss Taylor's intentions when she went into the river, given her alcohol intake and bizarre behaviour that witnesses had observed earlier. But she said she'll be right into the TWV, etc. And she said she found it difficult to understand why community mental health services repeatedly declined to offer her support as her situation deteriorated. And then again, it's talking about this. This is believed to be partly because she was treated as an alcoholic, but she was not dependent on alcohol. Instead, she was someone who binged on wine when her emotions relating to her traumatic past overwhelmed her. And we don't know what the traumatic past is. And the coroner said that instead, one crisis assessment suggested she seek help with Alcoholics Anonymous, even though they knew she was engaged already with another alcohol abuse support organisation called Horizon, and another signposted her to a private therapy provider. And the court heard how Miss Taylor had to be pulled from the River Derwent by her own brother 2 months before her death, in July 2024, and was taken to hospital. And then 3 weeks later, she was taken to A&E because she took an overdose after drinking 2 bottles of wine. So, this is clearly somebody, who's at risk, isn't it? So Miss Cundy said community mental health services did not get involved even after these incidents. The coroner said that because Miss Taylor could function normally without alcohol and was articulate about her problems, this left her in something of a limbo. I mean, what more can you do than tell people exactly how you're feeling and ask for help? You can't do any more than that. So she acknowledged that a number of agencies were involved with her, but the focus appeared to be on her alcohol problems rather than addressing her unresolved trauma issues. Ms. Cundy said this case showed there was still a tendency for mental health services to work in silos, and asked whether a multi-agency approach would have helped. In a statement read to the court, Detective Superintendent Graham Wright, who led the investigation into Miss Wright's disappearance. What? Miss Wright? Her name's Taylor. Oh, God, they've made a cock up there, haven't they? Yeah, he's Graham Wright. They mean Miss Taylor's disappearance. God, I thought I was cracking up then. Said he believed she went into the water at about 2 p.m. Does nobody ever do anything professional these days? I mean, honestly, you just think, oh, for God's sake, don't these things get checked? Anyway, we all make mistakes, I suppose. So he said he believes she went into the water at about 2 p.m. on September the 30th, and that is when she drowned. The officer said that the river was much deeper and colder than when she waded in during the July incident, and she would not have been able to stand due to the depth at the bank. He described how Miss Taylor's behaviour spiralled out of control between lunchtime on Sunday, September the 29th, and the same time on the following day. In a statement read by the coroner, Miss Taylor's fiancé, Matthew Williams, said she was utterly devoted to her daughter, who was born in 2022, but her family believes she developed postnatal depression, which exacerbated her existing mental health problems. Honestly, on her Facebook page, you would think, you can see she's a devoted mum. You just would not know any of this was going on in the background, and that just shows you social media means, doesn't really give an insight into the way people are thinking, does it at all, or even the life they're living. So Mr. Williams said she was also devoted to her work as a nurse and the manager of a dementia unit in a care home. These dementia patients, they need people like Victoria. It's such a shame. In her witness statement, Miss Warden said, that is her sister, we know in our hearts she did not take her own life, not intentionally. Elspeth Devaney, Group Director for Nursing and Quality at TEWV, said, our thoughts and deepest condolences are with Victoria's family and friends during this incredibly difficult time. And I read this out earlier, didn't I? Following Victoria's tragic death, we completed a review and we've made changes to improve our services. We will respond to the coroner's report. Well, the sad truth is, it won't bring Victoria back or help her daughter. Her daughter's lost her mum. Her partner's lost his fiancée. It's just such a shame. Such a young woman. So I hope lessons are learned. How many times do we hear this? Lessons learned. Normally it's from the police, isn't it? But these services, it seems like they really have let this woman down, let her family down. And I hope that if nothing else, at least maybe the lessons that they do learn from this, that they really do learn them. And it's so sad, isn't it? It's just such a sad ending to this case, that, as I say, we followed from when Victoria went missing, all hoping, weren't we, that there'd be some other explanation. And unfortunately not. She was finally found in the river a few weeks later. So very sad. I'm going to put up the virtual candle for Victoria, and a really heartfelt prayers for her family, especially her daughter. Okay, so thank you. I'm going to finish now. Thank you for caring about Victoria. I'll see you really soon. Oh, I just want to say, Victoria did go for help. But, don't take no for an answer, I suppose. That's something, when you go to a professional, or either for your mental health or about your family, it's so difficult, especially when they're an adult. Because it's hard for you to go to seek help for them. But it seems like Victoria sought help for herself. She should have received that help. Everybody's important. Every life is important, and especially a young mum like that. And that little girl, my heart just breaks for her. But anyway. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Victoria. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.